Hey everyone, Raghu, and I'm back with Mindrolling and a very, very old friend. That's
Older by the
insane.
day.
RamDev Dale Borglum, and welcome, RamDev.
Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, we were in India together with Neem Karoli Baba, and in fact, I'm going to prompt RamDev to tell some of those stories. There's a couple in particular that are really quite fantastic. And but we're also going to talk, because he has a new book, How to Live So You Can Die Without Fear. Okay, everybody? I think it's a subject that we all, and doesn't matter, I don't care if you're 18 or 20, it's absolutely good information, because waiting till that last year or two and you start feeling sick and you don't have the energy to practice, or you can't even, act in a way that's going to be beneficial to you as you move into the next adventure. And RamDev has been doing this since the early days, the early 70s with Ramdas.
Late 70s.
Wasn't it early?
No, the dying thing didn't start till about 1978.
Oh, really? Oh, I thought it was
Yeah,
74 or 5.
Yeah, I could tell the story a little bit. I mean,
Yeah.
Ramdas had been going around America. First of all, let me just say, though, the book isn't really about dying. The book is about how to live so you can die without fear. It's basically how you can live so you can live without fear, right? And if you're living without fear, then you can die without fear. So Trungpa said, until you have an intimate connection with death, your spiritual practice will have the quality of you being a dilettante. I'm not interested in dying. I'm interested in waking up. And I just figured that one of the best ways to do that is to have some death in my life, because I'm very stubborn. And in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, they have these mind-turning truths. That one of them is, the first one is, we're all going to die, but we don't know when. Obvious intellectually, but if we really knew that, then it turns your mind toward the Dharma. You want to wake up. Okay, we don't know we're going to be alive tomorrow, right? But we act like, oh yeah, it's all chill, even though you and I you're not quite as old as I am, but
I'm turning 59 next week.
What a liar. Well, I'm going to be 84 in a couple of months, believe it or not.
Oh my God, really? Oh,
whoever would have thought that number would have come up.
yeah.
So the book is not really about dying. Part of it is a memoir, because the publisher said, hey, you've got to convince people that you're somebody they should listen to. So there's me and getting a PhD in math, and then meeting Ramdas and Maharaj-ji, and then dying, and on and on and on. And then part of it is I have put together this healing paradigm through my work with meditation and devotion and psychology and all these different things. And being a mathematician, I can see the pattern of how it all fits together. And then toward the end of the book, how can we apply this healing paradigm to end-of-life issues like working with critical illness, grief, caregiving? But going back to that earlier thing, so Ramdas had been going around in the 60s talking about dying and conscious dying, and nobody wanted to listen to him. He had been a friend of Aldous Huxley, who wrote a book called Island. And in this book, there was a utopian community. There was a conscious dying center. And Ramdas thought, what a great idea. He walked around talking about this. Nobody was ready to hear that. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross showed up, and she wasn't talking about conscious dying. She was just talking about dying. But she brought dying out of the closet, if you will. At one point, she came to a workshop that Ramdas was teaching in Rhode Island. And Stephen Levine was the Buddhist meditation teacher at the workshop. Stephen and Elizabeth really hit it off, and she invited him to teach with her. Eventually, they parted ways amicably, and Stephen started teaching. Ramdas invited him to start doing his conscious dying work as part of the Hanuman Foundation that I was the director of. So Ram Dass and I were living together in Santa Cruz. Stephen was living on the other side of town back in the late 70s. And that's how that all began. Ram Dass had this great line about Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. He said she was an attached saint.
What does that mean?
Well, it means that she had a lot of attachments.
She wasn't totally cooked there.
She wasn't totally cooked, but she was a very saintly person. She really helped a lot of people.
Yes, and introduced something that has been extremely important to the culture, for sure. All I can think of after going through the book, and there's obviously, since we've known each other so long, there are things that I knew and appreciated about you. And I just want to hear one story, okay? That you could tell it 1 billion times, but it is so key to understanding deeply on so many different levels what reality, what truth is. And that's the story that when we were in India and we were in Allahabad, you were in a very desolate place. Can you tell that whole story in detail? This is just because I love it.
Yeah. I don't know if I use the word desolate, but anyway, so I had come to Maharaj-ji right after spending 10 years at Cal and Stanford studying math. My mind was just a shambles, right? Ended up spending 6 months with Muktananda at Ganesh Puri. Escaped there barely with my life. Barely. I mean,
I want to bear witness to that. That's where I met RamDev and another gentleman, Vishwambar, who were standing at the doorway on either side, where they had just put a beautiful murti of not of Muktananda, but of Nityananda, Swami Nityananda, and they were waving the whisk, just doing something around the puja and everything. I looked at you and I went, oh my God, what had they done to this poor guy? I mean, you were just ribs and bones, okay?
I was skin and bones. It was the rainy season. My digestifier had gone out. And they had just installed this big new murti. The Shankaracharya came, a very big deal. He's like the Pope of Hinduism. Strangely enough, they picked 3 people to be the pujaris, and 2 of them were Maharaj-ji people, me and Vishu. And the other was some guy, I don't even remember who it was. So by the time I got to Maharaj-ji, still, I had barely gotten out of graduate school. My mind was really a mess. I'd sit there with him, and it felt like I was dying of thirst, and he was pouring nectar into me. But I was like a sieve, and it was all pouring right out the bottom, right? It was so frustrating because my mind was like, oh, what's going on? So I found out that Goenka was doing some retreats, and I came to Maharaj-ji and said, could I go
meditation
and study Buddhist Vipassana meditation?
Yeah.
And he said, if you wish. He didn't seem very enthusiastic about it, but he said, okay. So I went there, and I did a 40-day retreat. And I had a remarkable experience. Goenka actually gave me a private room to meditate in. And I went into some state toward the end of the last retreat where my mind just opened up to complete spaciousness for an hour. And at the end of the retreat, I thought at the end of the meditation, I thought I was probably enlightened. So I got up from the special room I was in, and I had to go through the main meditation hall to get to the place where we ate lunch. And as I was walking through the hall, some guy stood up and he bumped into me. And I thought, do you know who you bumped into? I'm enlightened. So I realized that, maybe I wasn't enlightened yet. I had this, I had this remarkable experience, but apparently there was still somebody there.
Mm.
So, and in fact, reminds me of this great Suzuki Roshi quote, my favorite quote these days, where he said, "Enlightenment has been the biggest disappointment of my life," which I really love because you're still in pain, right? Life goes on. So I had this remarkable experience. My mind was just completely open and clear. And even before I went back to Maharaj-ji, I made a quick trip to Delhi to work on my visa or something like that. And in Delhi, it was like people everywhere, insane chaos. And it felt like everything was in slow motion. I was like so peaceful. It was like being underwater. It was like so peaceful. And I figured I'm going to get to Maharaj-ji now, and it's going to be like fantastic because my mind is not going to be agitated. I came there, and it was kind of crowded now because a lot of people had followed us from Goenka. They found out that Maharaj-ji's there. And by the way, Ram Dass is there. And by the way, it's free and they'll feed you. And even if you're broke, they'll give you money. So like all these people came. And I came into the room with Maharaj-ji, and people were laughing and people were crying and everybody has so much love. I couldn't feel anything. It was just a complete calmness. I could see Maharaj-ji form, shape, color, movement, no emotion. And I felt that what's going on here? But in retrospect, probably it was a deeper kind of love, that it was beyond emotional love. But I was missing that emotional thing that everybody was feeling. Yeah. So I go home to that place we're all staying. There were about 20 or 30 of us in some devotee's living room there in Allahabad that we were staying with. And
it was holy. That was what was happening. It was holy, and there was a huge house that we were. I just told this to someone yesterday because they got caught in holy in Vrindavan and completely wasted with all kind, like buckets of color and all that. And he said, just stay there in this compound, and he had them put a chai walla, a chai truck. And I'll never forget it because it had chocolate chai.
Right.
It was so great. Yeah, I
remember the chocolate chai.
Yeah.
So I go back to the compound and I pray, Maharaj-ji, please let my heart open. Please let me feel you. And I come back the next day. It's the same thing. No feelings. Everybody else is like, oh, Maharaj-ji, it's so great. And I'm kind of sitting there saying, calmness, but wait a minute. Third day, the same thing happens. So I say, I got to do something about this. Allahabad, which has now got a new name, by the way, it's not Allahabad, it's something Prayagraj. Yeah. They took away the Muslim name, of course, the nationalist government.
Yeah.
And Allahabad is the site of the Kumbh Mela, the biggest gathering where 10 or 15 million people come together for a holy man jam. It was not the time for that to happen. It happens at a astrologically auspicious moment. Yeah. But anyway, there's this confluence of two rivers, the Yamuna and the Ganges. They come together, and there's even supposedly a third river on the astral plane called the Saraswati. And at the place where they come together, it's called the Sangam, and all these millions of people meet there at this holy time. I figured maybe it's not the holy time, but maybe it'll help. Mm-hmm. So I get a bicycle rickshaw. It takes me way out. It's way out of town. It's the middle of nowhere, really. Half an hour on a bicycle rickshaw. You're out there, and there's this huge floodplain. There's like maybe 5 people where you can look a mile or two in either direction. Hardly anybody's there. Tell the rickshaw guy to wait. I go down to where these two rivers come together. I dip into the river, put the water on my head, and I get out of the river, and boom, it's happened. It's like my heart is like wide open. I look at a tree, and each leaf is like glowing with consciousness, and there's just this radiance to everything. And I thought, oh, this is great. And I get back in the rickshaw, 4 Church Lane, take me to Dada's house, and we're going. And I realize that there's no place to buy any prasad between where we are and Dada's house. And just as I had that realization, on the side of the road was a guy selling Indian calendar prints, those religious pictures of Ganesh and Shiva and Durga and stuff that are pretty much garish. They're, kind of technicolor but I figured maybe there's a picture there. And he not only was he selling the pictures, but they were on this like ancient wall. So here's like 1,000-year-old wall with these like weird pictures. And I looked at them, they were all kind of really corny, except just as I gave up, I looked, he had one of them lying on the ground. And it was the picture of Ram embracing Hanuman. That the most crucial moment, the most beautiful moment in the whole Ramayana, right? And it was a beautiful picture. I bought the picture. We go to Dada's house. I'm late for darshan. I figured there's no way I'm getting up to the front because it's so crowded. But miraculously, there was a pathway right up to the front. I go up to the front. I've got the picture. There's Maharaj-ji on his tucket. Now, usually when I would give Maharaj-ji something, it would be with the attitude, I'm a poor, inadequate devotee. I love you. Please take this. I'm giving this to you with great devotion. Be kind to me. It was kind of my like early childhood Christian guilt, right? I'm an unworthy sinner. Please be kind to me that I don't deserve it. But in this particular case, I was in this elevated state, and I just kind of like threw the picture at his feet. Right, here it is. Like there was no giver and receiver. In India, before the British showed up, there was no word for thank you. Right? If I had it and you needed it, boom, there it is. Right. So I just throw the picture there, and he picks it up. He unrolls it. He's looking at this picture, and the feeling started getting so thick, and some tears started coming down Maharajji's cheeks. And the feeling was, I may be imagining here, but the feeling was he was remembering the moment when Ram embraced Hanuman. And all the people up in the front, I don't know all, but a bunch of people up in the front began weeping. It was just like there was so much love. And all of a sudden, he stomped out of the room. He gave the picture to Dada. He yelled something in Hindi. He slammed the door behind him. And nobody saw him for like half an hour. He just left. And the next time we got to Brindavan, that picture was framed on the wall behind the main Hanuman and in the main temple room there. Now, usually when you gave something to Maharaj-ji, he didn't keep it. It was very unusual. Like Krishnadasa's mother gave Maharaj-ji a sweater that he kept, right? And I figured that because I gave it so purely, that it was not even me giving it, that he was able to keep it, right? It was one of the purest things I had done around Maharaj-ji, right? Which kind of reminds me of another story, if I might.
Yes.
Where we were up in Kenchi, and I just through good luck or good grace or whatever, I was in the front row. I had Maharaj-ji's foot. He was talking to people, and I'm just rubbing his foot. And I'm saying the mantra that he gave me. And I was just feeling, Maharaj-ji's foot. And after 5 or 10 minutes, I start feeling, oh, I'm so lucky. What a lucky yogi am I. And as soon as I had this eye feeling, he started pulling his foot away. So I went back to the mantra and just relaxed the foot again. It happened 3 different times. As soon as I started thinking, I'm doing this, he started pulling his foot away. And I go right back to the mantra. And so, I mean, he could feel what state my heart was in as I was touching his foot.
Not even. I don't even think it's that. We have no idea what is really going on with that. Well, it's like a computer that just did the right thing that was necessary for each human. And it could be one thing happening and each human got a different message. It was pretty unbelievable. But the I thing, that's to me the most important. In both of these stories, when the I...
It's the same story, almost.
Yeah. And the I goes away, something else happens that is more about enlightenment in the moment, for sure.
Yeah.
And this happened to many, many people in different ways, sitting around him. And but the reality of, I mean, you talk about in the book, what is it? The reality of how this motivates one, right, to move forward in their life with a perspective that is definitely different than the one with the I. Talk about motivation. I think that's a really good subject.
Well, so in the book, I do put together this healing paradigm that is based on my understanding of Buddhism and esoteric Christianity and the chakras and early childhood development. And it begins with motivation. And in Buddhism, even before you begin to practice, you generate motivation. You look at those mind-turning truths. You're going to die, but you don't know when. Life is precious. There's karma. There's suffering. So in the mind, there's this motivation of looking at the way things are. In the body, there's motivation because there's pain in the body. In the heart, there's motivation because we feel that separateness. There's that yearning. There's that yearning for connection that every human being has. Maybe you don't connect it to God, but there's this yearning. You want to be loved. You want to be loved. You want to feel connection. But what it reminds me of, though, is that the other end of the healing spectrum of wholeness, of non-duality, is there's no I anymore. And when I was younger, living here in the Bay Area, a lot of these yogis, swamis, roshis, saints would come from all different traditions, and I would go and have darshan with all these different people. And I developed a test question to kind of see who somebody is. And the test question was, suppose I have a friend who's dying and they're really afraid and they haven't meditated. What's the best thing I could do for them? And what almost all the good ones said was something like, merge your mind with the one mind, and then merge your mind with the mind of your friend. So that it kind of points out there's levels of healing. The first level of healing is, I'm going to heal you. I'm going to give you a medicine. I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to cut you open and fix your heart or whatever it is. The second level, so you're dealing with the problem, with the illness. Then there's holistic healing, where I'm dealing with you as a person. You know, you've got a problem. We're not dealing with a problem. We're dealing with you. It's holistic. But the deepest healing is not dealing with the problem, not reifying the problem, not reifying even the person, but dealing with the illusion of separateness. It's like Dzogchen, that you go into Rigpa and then you hang out with somebody. That's the healing. That's the healing practice. That's what Maharaj-ji was, right? He was being wholeness, and we were bumping into that. I mean, like the story of me bringing the picture. I can't hear you.
I'm sorry. You should define Rigpa.
Rigpa, yeah. Rigpa is awakened mind.
Okay.
As opposed to deluded mind.
Yeah, and back to the separate I. Now, of course, you remember K.C. Tewari very well, who is everybody out there is one of our mentors. In fact, we're gonna be showing the movie we did about him in New York with Krishnas at the end of the week. I can't tell you how many times he came over, me in particular, and he'd get the screw a little tightened up over here. He said, I'm going to help you out here. And then he'd say, my boy, if you think you are doing this, you are lost. He was like Mr. Natural, right? You remember that comic strip? Yeah,
of course.
He was that, and he was constant mindfulness. I never considered, he never once mentioned that word, but that's exactly where he was at from his own very advanced yogic state. And so he helped us out that way. But yeah, if you think you're doing it, you are lost.
So, but Mr. Tewari came there. I don't think he came there through mindfulness so much as.
No, I don't say he did, but he never referred to that when he was advising us one way or the other. There wasn't that word.
He came to it through devotion. I mean, I had the great gift of, he ended up at the dying center in Santa Fe when I was living there and running it. He ended up being there during Shivaratri.
Oh, yeah.
So he did Shivaratri in my living room. And his wife was afraid that he was going to die during Shivaratri, that he would go so far into the devotion that he was like chanting all night long that he might not stay in his body, right? Mm. And he was one of the two people, maybe there are more, but we only knew about him and Mr. Sharma, that Maharaj would just bump him on the head, and there was so much love that he would just leave his body. He'd become stiff as a board. He was become like a marble statue.
Yeah, he didn't need any touch. He didn't need Maharaj-ji's presence, which we found out after Maharaj-ji left, because he continued to go in these states. One time, I don't know if I ever told you, but one time I was on a yatra, meaning a pilgrimage with KC, which is KC, me, and my mother. Okay. We were in Kenji for a while, and we were hanging out with Siddhima and everything, and then we went on this pilgrimage up through the Himalaya foothills. And one time in Jageshwar, one of my favorite places in the world, you've been there, I'm assuming, and we were just hanging out at night, and he said, you shouldn't give up the religion of origin. Yeah, it's great to be involved with Hinduism and Buddhism, but, you can't give it up. And you're Jewish, right? And we said, yeah. And he said, well, my mother wasn't exactly a big Jew, but she knew all this. Because he said, can you sing me a Jewish prayer? And she knew them all. So we, in harmony together, we sang, it's a prayer called Ein Keloheinu. There's nothing but the one. Basically, that's what the prayer is, right? Mm. And we got as far as the first phrase, Ein Keloheinu. That was it. Completely gone. My mother, who had never seen this before, I tell this in the movie too, said, oh my God, what? I said, no, it's okay. He doesn't seem to be breathing. I said, no, I know it's going to be okay. And then he came to, and it wasn't just that. It was then we were just hanging out, and my mother made a reference to cleanliness is next to godliness. You know that famous thing?
Yeah, of course.
Gone. He heard that. That was it. This funny. Man was so tuned into reality, and could easily he would be submerged in the one where we are all connected.
But I think he was making a really great point there, that even Carl Jung said that to really fully integrate your personality, you need to go back and honor the religion of your childhood.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Huh. Let's talk a little bit about compassion. That evokes all sorts of responses from people, but I love this one. Compassion doesn't always mean being nice, okay? And so there's you actually tell a story of Maharaj-ji being told by someone close to him about a man that was dying. Tell that story. And that man was Tewari, by the way.
I'm not sure I know which story you're talking about.
Oh, some person died, right? He was dying, but he had died, and Tewari said, we could send some.
Oh.
We should visit them, something. And he said,
do you want me?
You go ahead. He said, what, are you, a butcher?
Because I didn't know that was
He
Tewari.
laughed. He laughed.
So we got a lot of things going on here. So there are two stories about Maharaj-ji where somebody told him, a close devotee of yours just died. In one case, he started laughing. And the person said, "Are you a butcher?" And he said, "What, do you want me to be a puppet like everybody else?" And in another case, somebody said, "Your devotee died," and he started crying like a baby.
Yeah.
Right. So I've been working with the dying for 45 years, which obviously has a lot to do with compassion. And it kind of surprises me what a difficult concept of for people compassion actually is. And like, I'll have a whole group of people. I say, who can define compassion? Almost nobody can define compassion. Do you want to define compassion, Raghu? What's compassion?
Giving a shit about others and not yourself, starting there.
You're in the ballpark, but it's not a home run. Okay. Okay. So compassion is the same thing as loving kindness. It's keeping your heart open when there is suffering. Right? It's not about acting a certain way. It's a lot. In fact, it's not even an emotion. It's a state of being open-hearted when there is suffering in the world. Mm-hmm. And it's not always being nice. I mean, if you're a parent and you're raising a child and you always say, yes, you're going to raise a monster, you need to be able to say no lovingly at times. So compassion is really misunderstood. And right now, there's a lot of people on the Christian right who are writing books with titles like Toxic Empathy and The Sin of Empathy.
Oh.
And feeling that if I'm empathetic towards, say, single mothers who want an abortion, then I'm going to be a bad person or something. And being compassionate doesn't mean you're going to act one way or the other. It means the actions are going to come out of a deeply heartfelt place. Empathy and compassion are two different things. Empathy means I'm feeling what you're feeling. You can't have compassion without empathy. Mm-hmm. But you can have empathy and not take the next step to compassion. You can be empathetic and say, okay, I feel how you're suffering, but that's not something I feel I can deal with right now. I'm out of here. Right? Whereas compassion, you're really touched by that. And you can feel compassion only to the extent that you're willing to feel the suffering. It's not thinking about it or talking about it, but can you really feel what it's like to be Donald Trump? Can you really feel what it's like to be? So I've got this line, when you're dying, Donald Trump is going to be at your bedside, right? Which really freaks people out, of course.
Yeah.
And what that means is any place in you that the heart of compassion closes when I say Donald Trump, that's going to be part of who you are as you're going through the dying process. So now's the time start working with those places. Ramdas would have pictures of Republican politicians on his puja table. And I don't know how many people have said to me, I've heard that story about Ramdas, but I just can't do it. I just don't want to look at his face. I'm not going to do that, which is fine. There's no rush. There's no rush to be. And maybe you don't start with Donald Trump. Maybe you start with the cranky neighbor or your cousin who you're not that close to or something. That you in Buddhism, they often start with the easy one and then the middle one and then the hard one, right?
Yeah.
So we don't start with Donald Trump. We start with, and maybe you really love Donald Trump. This is not only a practice for Democrats here, but finding that place. Imagine how simple your life would be if it were motivated by compassion. Not, do they like me? Am I getting enough? But what alleviates suffering in the world right now? And even when you tried to define compassion, you said it was something about other people. Compassion in the West is often also for ourselves. So that very often we're put in a situation where we have to look at how much are we able to work with how the world is out of balance but also how much we have to take care of ourselves because the world is out of balance.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? There's some kind of very tricky balance there. And people in the West often forget compassion for self when we're doing a practice, compassion practice.
Yeah, often. Yeah, often.
The Dalai Lama says, if you want others to be happy, practice compassion. If you want to be happy, practice compassion.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You have a chapter around empowerment, and and I don't quite know how you'll let us know how this fits in with that theme.
Okay.
But I have to read this thing. I never read, this is, maybe I didn't read the book thoroughly enough when you first wrote it and sent me a copy, but this stood out this time.
Maybe.
Maybe. Well, I get a lot of books every week. I got to read
I'm
a
not
podcast.
blaming you. I'm not blaming you.
But this was, you said this, Ram Dass wrote this in his quote unquote unpublished journal. Where the hell did you get that?
Well, who do you think helped me write the book?
Oh,
your ex-wife.
Oh, Parvati. She found that?
Yeah, she put that in the book for me.
Wow. Can I read it? Do you mind?
Yeah, please. Yeah, read it, of course.
And then you'll tell us about how it fits with the theme. I now accept that his grace, Guru's grace, is sufficient for me. I need nothing more. Though I have no powers, no great visions or astral contacts, no super energy which frees from sleep, nor am I yet purged of all worldly desires, yet his grace is sufficient, for I am coming to know the power of love. My strength is made perfect in weakness. I am coming to suspect that I have been seeking and expecting the wrong sign. I love that. And that who we are to become, we already are. But the humbleness of the sign of the Spirit leads us to overlook it. I think in my Western desire mind, I have wanted great powers to heal and impress those who are impressed by power. That the Spirit exists to impress myself. But as faith grows, I come to see that power attracts power, but that love attracts love. When I am blessed enough to transcend the need for power, then I shall become love and know only love in all whom I meet. That is heaven on earth. That is true teaching. That's quite a great statement from him.
It is. So there are two things about the spiritual path that I think are misunderstood and or underrepresented here in the West. One of them is Tantra, empowerment. The other is embodiment. So we'll talk about Tantra first. And when we look at the development of Buddhism from Theravada to Mahayana to Vajrayana, there's a movement from mindfulness to compassion to Tantric Buddhism. And Tantra is about empowerment, and it's difficult to talk about because it really depends on a wide open heart, which Ram Dass's quote there really points to. So that in Vajrayana Buddhism, when you've done enough prostrations and enough mantras, 1 million mantras, 100,000 full prostrations, traditionally, they don't do that anymore here in the West at least, but when your heart opens enough and you begin to realize the spacious nature of the heart, before the heart opens, the eye fixation is right in your face, right? But after the heart opens up, the eye fixation is just one point in the vast sky of mind. It's still, I've got an eye, I've got an ego, it's a tool, I'm using that, but it's not who I am. And because you're not fixated with self, you're so immersed in love, then empowerment you becoming the deity begins to arise. So even just as an example, you're saying a mantra from the first stage, from the Theravada stage, from invocation. You're saying, let's just suppose your mantra is Ram. You're saying Ram, Ram, Ram. And the feeling behind it is, please show up. Ram Dass talked about it, or I felt it last week, or I read a book about this, and I have some faith that this will work. But I'm trying to purify and get there a little bit. And then the heart begins to open, the Mahayana stage, devotion, compassion begins to open. And it's not so much about the content, it's the relationship, the loving relationship with content in the Mahayana stage. But then in Vajrayana, now this is the thing that sends shivers up my spine every time I say it. When you're saying, going back to the Mahayana stage, you're saying Ram, 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 and there's this juicy relationship. I'm loving Ram, Ram is loving me, but Ram is something separate out there that you're having this love affair with. In the tantric stage, in the empowerment stage, when you say the word Ram, the sound is the full manifestation of Ram. And you who are saying the word Ram is also Ram. So when I say Ram, that is the complete manifestation of the deity. It's not please show up or I love you. It's like Ram. Okay. So that's the empowerment stage, that you are Ram, that Tewari is Shiva. He does Shiva Ratri. He knows he's Shiva because his heart is so open. He has so much love for Maharaj-ji, so much love for Shiva, that he just starts thinking about cleanliness is next to godliness. Boom, he's off in that place. But that comes from having this profoundly open devotional heart, right? So in the stage of a tantra, all emotions are healing messages. All energy is awakened energy. All beings are the deity. When Maharaj-ji would say things like, love everybody, or the best form to worship God is every form, those are tantric statements from the empowerment stage. I mean, in some way, he was a tantric teacher. He was way beyond being a tantric teacher, but a lot of his slogans, a lot of the things were coming from that stage of tantra, that we should love everything because everything is God. He said, wherever I look, all I see is Ram, right? That's tantra. Okay. So that really changes practice from I'm trying to get somewhere, there's a sense of inadequacy and poverty, to you're practicing with abundance and richness and joyfulness. It's like, whoa. Yes, that people are, wars going on and people are starving and people are being raped and all these horrible things are going on. And it's all God. It takes a very profoundly open heart to put those two things together.
That's a wild understatement, but we'll accept it.
Well, so like the Tibetans say, there's another thing that blows my mind, is that compassion is a mixture of sadness and joy. You're sad that all this stuff is happening, but your heart is so open that there is a joyfulness of the open heart that transcends happiness and sadness. Right? So the human part of you is sad, but the tantric empowered part is joyful, both at the same time.
Yeah.
The other thing that I point out in the book that's underrepresented is embodied mindfulness. That I think a lot of mindfulness practice is taught about the mind, about thoughts, being on the surface of the mind, and being grounded, being centered, approaching life as a martial art, inhabiting the hara, the belly, embodied mindfulness. I've had people come to me as meditation students who've been meditating for years, and it really changes their practice to bring in grounding and centering as part of mindfulness practice.
Yeah. I'm just, I think we have to be very careful about non-dual practice. I think it's one of the most facile way of shifting when one's perspective shifts out of I am not my mind, I am not the I, and all of that. It's like the crystal clarity of Buddhist reality. Ram Dass used to always, he would bug them and say, you're getting caught in that crystal clarity of Buddhism, you got to watch it because you're missing the heart, etc., etc.
Right.
I'll tell you a story. This has nothing to do with anything, or maybe everything. I don't know. Siddhima, I found this in an old diary, really just the other day, and had forgotten about it. It's a story from her. She used to go when she, as a wife with a family in India, you don't just pop around and go to things. So she'd sneak out to go. She loved talks, basically a lot of talks from philosophy and some Advaita, all of that, non-dual, which is Advaita. And Maharaj, she told him she was going to go to this one particular talk from a pundit, and Maharaj-ji said, you know what? Steal his shoes, okay? When you go there. She's like, what?
I can see where this is going.
So, but she gets there, and turns out somebody else stole the guy's shoes. He went nuts. He was so angry. So she said, Maharaj-ji, he was just so angry. And Maharaj-ji said, see what happens with Advaita people? I love that so much.
Well, yeah. So, there's even a story where Maharaj-ji had a sadhu come to him and said, give me your money. And the guy said, I don't have any money. He said, oh, yes, you do. And the guy pulled out some rupees he was saving for a rainy day, and Maharaj-ji threw them in the fire. And the guy flipped out.
Yeah, oh yeah. I remember.
And Maharaj-ji reached into the fire, took out brand new bills, and gave them back to the guy. And the guy fell at Maharaj-ji's feet.
That was the end of him. Yeah. Oh, God.
Yeah, so, certainly, in fact, one of the points here, I'm flogging the book. One of the points of the book is that these
That's why you're here, okay?
These are developmental stages. And getting to non-duality without embodied mindfulness, without really a compassionate, devotional heart and understanding the tantric nature of things, non-duality can just be an idea. It's a beautiful idea.
Intellectual idea.
But it's in the mind. How did Tewari go into that state? He went into oneness because his heart was so open, not because he understood it with his mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, we're getting to the end. I got a few other things, but particularly, I think to chat a little bit about, and I know of this, mind the gap, right? Minding the gap. I first heard of this at all through Trungpa Rinpoche back in that day.
Yeah.
And this, it. And you talk about non-duality. It's the pristine spaciousness of mind, of the mind that is not hidden by the content. And but talk a little bit more about it, because this confusion, you say, arises when we take discursive thoughts to be real. I mean, this is right at the top of the list of things to attend to on the spiritual path. Thoughts aren't the problem, but our thoughts about our thoughts are. Why don't you talk about this? Because you go on to say, when we don't clearly recognize emptiness, then we experience grasping. I think this is very important stuff.
Yeah, well, minding the gap. Like right now, for instance, if I'm giving you and the listeners the instruction, all you've got to do is pay attention to the sound of my voice, just hearing, paying attention. But what do you experience when I stop? In that gap, in the gap between me talking? Is there something, is there an awakeness, aliveness, an awareness that's there that's easier to recognize in the gap? It's easier to recognize between the thoughts, between the breaths. It's there during the thoughts, during the breath. So that this practice of minding the gap begins to teach us to rest in the nature of things rather than the content itself. So, like, for instance, if you're in a Vipassana retreat and you're watching your breath, you're watching the sensations, the content of the breath, if you will. In a Dzogchen retreat, the awareness is going through the breath into the nature of breath itself, the nature of reality itself. You're looking through the content into the empty nature of everything. Now, there have been libraries of books, and I've got a few shelves of them behind me there. What is emptiness? And it sounds like not a good thing. Emptiness sounds like there's nothing there.
Nihilistic, yeah.
But that's not what emptiness is, of course. Emptiness is the total interdependence of all being. It's the total emptiness of grasping. I think it's Meister Eckhart who says, when my heart is empty of things, it is full of God. When it's full of things, it is empty of God. Right? And that's what we're kind of talking about here.
You want to hear Robert Thurman's interpretation of emptiness?
Sure.
It's so beautiful. The womb of bliss.
Isn't
that's
that great?
Yeah. Yes, go on. Sorry.
Yeah, so I'm not too worried about emptiness and the womb of bliss. To me, it's like, if I can be present, if I can have this embodied mindfulness, if I can really begin to trust, have faith in, practice the way Ramdas was talking about in that quote from his journal, that ends up taking care of itself. It's not a mental thing to understand or create. It's the nature of things as they are. And to me, my practice is again and again coming to the edge of where I have faith and where faith stops. And so, like, if I have a bad day on the stock market, or I'm feeling sick, or if my son is having a hard time finding a job, can I have faith that this is just as perfect as my son getting the perfect job, or making money today, or my body feels fantastic, right? And it's just again and again and again having faith in Maharaj-ji's grace. It's all grace. Suffering is grace. It's all grace.
And let's just say something too about, we keep referring to Maharaj-ji, and I always like to put this little thing in there of Lama Suryadas, who, when he came first time to see Maharaj-ji, they told him to sit and meditate. I've told this story a number of times before, but it's worth repeating. They said, just sit there and meditate. When he's ready, he'll see you. And he did that, and he went into realizing the big, what he called the big Maharaj-ji, that which was beyond any localized thing. And then they took him into the room to see Maharaj-ji, and he was like astounded that this being that he had met on a much, shall we say, more profound state of a level of consciousness, it was sitting there like this. So that thing, and my own experience directly was with after Maharaj-ji left, maybe 10 years later, no, less than 8 years later, I had darshan of the 16th Karmapa, which I believe you did as well.
I did,
and when I got near him, and I just felt this vast opening, oh my God, Maharaj-ji, So this all is just one place of a being that is no longer polarized, that is true living in Advait state. And so, yeah, Maharaj-ji, that's our personal. It's like that behind RamDev, those of you who are watching this on YouTube or whatever, behind him is a monkey. and it's a monkey doll, which in fact, RamDev, this is the same thing. I can't, I can see it pretty well, but I gave to my son,
He gave,
Sham.
my son gave that to me.
Oh, really? That's funny. So, yeah, that this is what we do to be able to eventually merge through the tantric reality that RamDev. I've called you Ramdas before. You
have.
It's not.
I'm not.
It's definitely a compliment, for sure. Anyhow, yeah. And the other thing I have to say about emptiness, and you're right, emptiness, schmemptiness. I mean, but I think just the reality of not grasping to that I that we do moment to moment is a connectivity to the reality of what emptiness is.
Could I say a few closing things?
Yes. I have a poem I'm going to read too.
Okay. One of them is when I first met the Karmapa, 16th Karmapa, he looked at me and he started laughing.
Oh, really?
As well as did Dingo Kensei. The first time he met me, he started Dujim Rinpoche, when he first met me, he started laughing. And the feeling I got was they looked at me and they said, look at the incarnation you got yourself in this time. Isn't that kind of funny?
Yeah, that's great.
Story number 2 is the title of the book. So the year after Ram Dass died in the next Maui retreat, I was invited to the retreat because Duncan Trussell couldn't get a COVID-free nanny. So I was the Duncan replacement part. And they put me in Ram Dass's old room at the resort there. And the night before I was going to get on the stage and do my first talk, I had a Ram Dass dream. And Ram Dass said, don't talk about what you're planning to talk about. I want you to talk about how you and me and Stephen founded the conscious dying movement in the West. And by the way, the title of your book is How to Live So You Can Die Without Fear.
No.
Yes.
I didn't know. You never told me that.
Yeah, that's true. Isn't that funny?
That's great. Oh, wow.
And the last thing, I'd really like to plug the Living Dying Project. We've got a lot of great stuff going on. I don't know when the podcast is going to be released, but on June 13th, Francis Weller and I are having a conversation about grief. He just had a conversation with Anderson Cooper about grief. He's written the best book about grief, called The Wild Edge of Sorrow. So we've got free talks. I've got a Saturday group with 1,200 people in a spiritual support group. We've got volunteers trained to offer free of charge one-to-one support to people who are grieving, people who are dying, people who have caregiving issues. There's a lot of great stuff there.
Yeah.
livingdying.org.
Yeah. And as you all understand, we've known each other a very long time, and I know of his work, RamDev, Dale's work for all of that time, and there wouldn't be anybody I'd more highly recommend to anyone going through anything or just in relation to changing your perspective just a little bit, just a little bit means a lot, and a lot. And all of this will be links that you'll be able to catch up to in the show notes on BeHereNowNetwork.com/mindrolling. But I want to leave, there's one poem you put in here, RamDev.
Please.
From Hafiz, of course, is all of our favorite devotional poet. Now is the time for the world to know that every thought and action is sacred, that this is the time for you to compute the impossibility that there is anything but grace. Now is the season to know that everything you do is sacred. Hafiz. That is so great. It represents everything we've been discussing for this last hour or so. And I thank you for being here, my friend.
My pleasure. So much love.
Yes. Love everybody. Again, go to BeHereNowNetwork.com and you will, RamDev.
And I've got a channel there too.
Yeah.
Healing at the Edge. Yeah.
He's got a podcast alongside of everyone from Alan Watts to Krishna Das and Jack Kornfield, etc., and Joseph Goldstein, who, by the way, RamDev, my son, I'm kind of bringing him in, Noah, and so he said, if you ever do a podcast with Joseph Goldstein, I have some questions. And we did. I'm going to put this out to everybody. It was just so fantastic, how Joseph responded to him in such a direct, wonderful way. I was just can't wait to share. Yeah. Thank you, my friend RamDev Dale Borglum, and everybody. We'll see you next time on Mindrolling. We didn't talk about that.
Mindrolling, yes.
See you later.